Wink TV, the news station. From Southwest Florida's news leaders, Patrick Comer, Marisa Martin, meteorologist Jim Reed, and sports with Ken Tomash. This is Wink News Tonight.
Good evening. A man who was considered a god for much of his life is dead tonight at the age of 87.
Japan's Emperor Hirohito died after reigning for 62 years. The frail monarch had been in deteriorating health since September 19th when he vomited blood and had received numerous blood transfusions since then to counteract internal hemorrhaging. The palace said the emperor died of intestinal cancer Saturday. But the death was not announced to the public until today. Crown Prince Akihito, the emperor's eldest son, has ascended the chrysanthemum throne.
The government has named 2 corporations and 9 individuals in the first prosecutions of the Pentagon corruption scandal. After a 2.5-year investigation, indictments were handed down against Teledyne Industries Incorporated, Hazeltine Corporation, and 9 individuals. The corporations and individuals were charged with a massive conspiracy in which a Navy engineer allegedly took bribes to give the firm's insider contract information. Teledyne plans to plead not guilty to the charges, but the Hazeltine Corporation and 3 individuals have already pleaded guilty. Hazeltine also has agreed to pay fines of almost $2 million.
The United Nations Security Council is considering whether to condemn the U.S. for shooting down 2 Libyan fighter jets. Not surprisingly, the request comes from Libya. UN Ambassador Vernon Walters showed the council the pictures that he says prove the Libyan jets were armed. Libya's ambassador refused to look at the photos, saying they were fakes. Walters says, considering the source, that's not surprising.
I mean, if we brought in the Libyan pilot, and he said, this is what happened, they would say, no, he's been drugged or he's been doctored. You've got to ask people to use a little common sense. The United States is not a government in which people can get away with government lying.
Whether or not the U.S. is lying was debated by 2 pilots on British television today. The editor of Jane's Avionics Yearbook says the pictures do not prove Libya's intent to attack. The other pilot, who flew in Britain's 1982 war with Argentina, says the Libyans were armed and moving towards a U.S. task force where the jets were based.
Mixed reaction from around the world comes as no surprise.
But reporter Allison Schaefer wanted to learn Southwest Florida's verdict on the shootdown. She discovered that on this issue, everyone seems to agree.
Good kill, good kill.
Hey, good kill. After that, I see the,
I got the splash, one splash.
one splash.
Southwest Floridians seem to overwhelmingly support these U.S. pilots in their skirmish with 2 Libyan MiG fighters.
I watched the video today, and it seemed to me that the American pilot, was being harassed, and I thought he stayed pretty calm for a long time until at the very end. Yeah, I feel like he did the right thing.
We got to protect ourselves. That's the way I feel. I just think we've taken enough from these other countries. With the terrorists and everything else, Libya, we need to make a stand. They got to learn if they want to mess with us on neutral territory. And, put us in that type position, this is going to happen.
Robert Jones says he'd be willing to go to war with Libya if the president asked him to.
Because Gaddafi's, he's kind of weird. He always does stuff like that,
The verdict among these shoppers, almost unanimous.
If the Joint Chiefs of Staff dropped by the Edison Mall tonight, they'd get a big round of applause. Our informal poll here shows that most Southwest Floridians support America's airborne attack. In Lee County, Allison Schaefer, Wink News Tonight.
The Lee County Medical Examiner has identified the body found in a shallow grave in Alva. Officials say 19-year-old Brian Boone had been shot in the head twice at close range. Investigators spent yesterday digging up Boone's body near the Alva cemetery. Deputies claim 20-year-old Christopher Smith confessed to the killing and led them to the grave. Smith reportedly confessed he shot Boone during an argument over money. Smith remains in the Lee County Jail tonight on a murder charge. The attorney for a 14-year-old boy shot on a Lee County school bus last year is ready for his day in court. Attorney Vincent Tolosano says he'll seek at least a 6-figure claim. May 16th, Derek Strong was shot in the back by another student. He survived the shooting, but the bullet remains lodged in his back. And Attorney Tolosano says the results of a doctor's exam could push the claim even higher.
The damage issue is still to be determined by his neurosurgeon. And the problems he will have in the future, his pain and suffering, his restrictions, his limitations, his potential inability to earn income for himself in the future.
Strong's mother recently filed suit against the Lee County School Board alleging negligence. If an out-of-court settlement is not reached, the case will go to trial in about a year.
You probably won't notice the change in the Cape Coral Bridge, but it's there. The expansion project contractor has been changed. And unlike the traffic flow, the switch is supposed to be smooth. Lee County says the Ballinger Group was behind schedule on construction, and if it's not completed on time, the insurance company faces hefty fines. So now another contractor is on the job. The Ackerman Company out of Fort Lauderdale apparently has a lot of experience.
They've built equal to or larger bridges. They're currently involved in construction. They are a licensed contractor in the state of Florida.
And construction is supposed to be completed by the end of this August.
The bridge expansion is a direct result of growth and efforts to manage that growth.
State Representative Keith Arnold, who has just been appointed to House Majority Leader, joins us tonight from the newsroom. First, Representative, congratulations and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Marisa.
Let me ask you, in your opinion, are Lee County and Southwest Florida meeting the challenge of competent, controlled growth?
No, Marisa, I don't believe that we are. In fact, the bridge issue, which you just saw, is a direct result of that growth. If we were to build a parallel span in that area, we should have probably built it several years ago to meet the challenges of growth in Southwest Florida. The fact of the matter is counties and cities have failed through whatever mechanisms that they have had to deal effectively with growth over the years, and so the state has gotten involved in pursuing that issue and trying to persuade them that they have to more effectively manage the growth in their communities. It's a tough issue, but it's one we're getting involved in.
You raise a point that has quite a few people concerned, and that is that cities and counties have to file their comprehensive growth plans, and it raises the question of whether state officials in Tallahassee, for example, should be controlling the growth in local areas, in our cities, in our counties. Should they be involved?
Well, Patrick, as you know, we don't actually do permitting for growth. We don't provide building codes or allow for don't support the building, pulling the permits for construction. However, we do get involved in growth management in that we do review those comprehensive plans. We review all of them, the cities, the counties, the MPOs, to try to determine whether they meet the state standards, the guidelines that we've established, etc. It's important that the state does get involved in growth management, that we do make sure that counties and cities statewide have comprehensive and compatible growth plans. Otherwise, there will be no cohesiveness at all to the growth in the state of Florida. And so we are getting involved significantly. The fact of the matter is, over the years, the counties and the cities have fared poorly in dealing with the problems of growth in this state, and as a result, we have to get involved.
All right, Representative Arnold, thank you for being with us again tonight.
Thank you.
And around Florida tonight, NASA says there is little risk that a planned nuclear-powered satellite will hurt the environment. The Galileo interplanetary probe is scheduled for launch from a space shuttle in October. It will explore Jupiter and its moons. NASA says Galileo could survive a Challenger-type explosion without releasing radiation. Talk of more earthly air travel got underway between Eastern Airlines and leaders of its machinists union today. The two sides have been at odds for over a year. This round of talks should last about a week. And Sheila Ryan, winner of the nation's single biggest lottery, is sharing the wealth. Part of her winnings will establish a nonprofit foundation to help the homeless, elderly, hungry, and abused women and children. Ryan won $55.1 million back in September. She says she was raised by her Irish immigrant parents to help others, and now that she has the money to do it, she plans to do just that.
Still ahead on Wink News tonight, a local paper buys a paper.
And we'll tell you why some hospitals are telling their smokers to butt out.